There are people who believe that life would not be the same once the loss of human lives due to the epidemic is contained. Do you subscribe to the views within the context of working class people? How do you see the new norm shaping up in workplace, the job market, and the work culture?
Fantastic, Kaushik. I think you've covered a broad spectrum, right? You're talking about workspace, you're talking about job market, you're talking about world culture. And all of this, I think, has been our existing beliefs, models have been tested. And before I answer the question of do we believe that there will be a new normal, let me try and talk about these three different facets that you touched on. So the first one you spoke about was workspace. I think if you look at some of the large players today, I think one of their key distribution vehicle has been the points of presence. Yeah, these branch outlets that people have spent so much time, so much money and effort to try and help create. Now, one of the things that this crisis has taught us is that remote working or work from home, from just being a concept which many believed could work only for these tech workers or maybe in the Silicon Valley, I think has proved to be, shall I say, one of the ways by which we have tried to all cope with the current situation. So in terms of workspace, remote working, my sense is that I'm sure after things stabilize, we would be reflecting upon this time and say to each other that it was this summer of 2020 that we actually saw the prospect of telecommuting actually take concrete shape in India. So I fully subscribe to that view. So that's quickly on workspace. You spoke about the job market. Now, this has been, and this debate is on the television. This is on top of our minds. This question about lives versus livelihood. It is a problem. It is a huge challenge, unprecedented one for people and society. And I think if you think about what has happened, this crisis has led to, in the initial short term, a lot of losses around. So if you look at aviation industry, if you look at travel, if you look at hospitality, in all of these industries, not just hiring freezes, but also job cuts have actually happened. And as we look into the second order effects, my sense is it will soon be upon the auto industry, auto ancillaries, one could say the retail industry. So this is certainly going to be impacting the job prospects for many, many people. There are varying estimates on the losses, but I wouldn't put too much emphasis on the numbers. Fair to say that this is an unprecedented challenge on the livelihood side. Not just people who are working professionals like all of us, but also for self-employed professionals, this MSME, they have actually seen literally the orders stop or fall to zero almost overnight. So long-lasting impact on the job market. And finally, to talk about work culture, several things have changed. In the old model, we were still believing on command and control, if I were to use that as an example of a leadership style. Now, distributed leadership is in vogue. It is unrealistic to expect that the central headquarters somewhere in India or in the globe would have complete understanding and assessment of the situation on the ground. Just look at the way how India itself is dealing with the reaction to the pandemic, right? There are distributed leadership. Each of the state governments are coming forward with their own plans, and then there is a central coordination team trying to define what out of these are central elements and what can be left to the states to drive themselves. So distributed leadership is one thing that I feel has come of age. I'll pause here and maybe we can take more as we go along.
So those who have missed it from the beginning, you can catch the full interview on my YouTube channel, The Process Pro Kaushik Majumder.